is enough said.
Happy Taco Tuesday, Heat Nation. Yo, boy Ernest here. Back with another Miami Heat Talk video. Guys, don't forget to show your support by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to click that notification bell to get all the updates. Now that we got that out the way, let's go on another Miami Heat Talk adventure. Heat Nation, I know we're standing up. I know we're thrilled and excited. Yesterday, the Miami Heat complete a 3-team trade and get Norman Powell on this roster. Best part about it, we didn't have to give up much. It was a 3-team trade where the LA Clippers got John Collins, the Heat got Norman Powell, and the Utah Jazz received Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson, and a future second-round draft pick from the Clippers. Now, before we get started, I want to take a moment, because I didn't do it yesterday, to say thank you to Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson was only here half the year, but Kevin Love, I still feel to this day, was one of the biggest reasons why we went on that run in the 2023 playoffs. For those of you that don't remember, the Miami Heat were stagnant before we signed Kevin Love via buyout. When he came on this roster, he developed a relationship with Jimmy Butler, Max Strus. He started bringing like a laughter, joyfulness to the locker room, and it really you really saw the camaraderie in the team. And then you saw it with the push in the 2023 playoffs. Kevin Love was giving that veteran presence, speaking in people's ears, giving them support. So K-Love, we're gonna miss you. Thank you so much for the memories. I don't know if Kevin Love's gonna stay in Utah. He did a post yesterday that was pretty like funny / sad, where he's like, "I'd never thought I'd be a math problem," and then he goes, "Welcome to the NBA." It was a little sad because you could tell he was happy here in Miami, but it's business. It is what it is. Kevin Love wasn't really playing here. The Miami Heat gave him a 2-year, $8 million contract after the 2023 season to basically say thank you. So he's getting his money. I don't know if he'll be moved by Utah, released, bought out, but Kevin Love does control his fate, whether he stays in Utah or he goes to another team. But I wish you nothing but the best, K-Love. But moving on, how is this Miami Heat team going to look for the 2026 season? And what else are the Miami Heat going to do? Because the Miami Heat have freed themselves up, ladies and gentlemen. After trading for Norman Powell and sending out both Kyle Anderson and Kevin Love, we now have 14 players guaranteed on this roster, which is leaving up a free spot. And I want to touch on that, you guys, because part of the reason why I'm doing this particular episode is that a few of you were in my comments yesterday. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to call anyone out, but certain people were telling me, "Oh, I heard from someone else that the Miami Heat no longer have a mid-level exception. I heard from someone else that the Heat can't do this." And a lot of it started confusing me because in the 2023 offseason, the NBA implemented their new collective bargaining agreement. And I've done multiple videos on that. And maybe this is because I'm a numbers guy. I'm a math guy. My favorite subject was math. I love numbers. Numbers are one of the biggest things to me. And I started calculating numbers and I was thinking, wait a second. Yeah, the Heat took back $8 million more in this trade. But after the moratorium period finished in July 5th, the 2026 salary took to effect. And things started changing. And I don't know if most of you remember this or not, but I did a video a few weeks ago where I talked about the first apron tax line has been pushed to $196 million. And the second apron tax line is about $208 million. Right now, the Miami Heat in guaranteed salary have about $192 million guaranteed with 14 players. That's $4 million under the first apron. Now, if you take Tyler Hero's bonus incentive, which also counts to the salary, even though he hasn't hit it, it still counts to the salary. That still leaves the Miami Heat $1.8 million under the first apron. Ladies and gentlemen, the tax bracket indicates that as long as a team stays under the first apron tax line, they still have access to their full non-taxpayer mid-level exception. I think what was happening and where people were getting confused was if you go over the luxury tax, you don't get your mid-level exception. That's not true. When you're under the first apron, you get the full mid-level exception. When you're a first apron team, you get a partial mid-level exception. And then when you hit the second apron, you get nothing. No mid-level exception, no biannual exception. You cannot buy out players. Your future first round draft pick in 7 years gets frozen, and then it goes to pick 30 if you're a repeat offender. These are the main reasons why, you guys, NBA teams are counting their cost. This is the reason why the third best players in teams are going to be screwed from here on out. Because this is the reason why the NBA did these whole aprons. So teams can avoid making dynasties and big three teams. Because now the third best player gets screwed. It's usually the third best player where teams are trading. Look, Norman Powell was the third best player. Michael Porter Jr. was the third best player in Denver. This is gonna be happening from here on out, you guys. Teams don't have enough cap relief to pay all their players, so they're gonna be letting players go. Now the real question is, what do the Miami Heat decide to do from here on out? Because now that I've broken this down, now that we know the Miami Heat have their full $14 million mid-level exception, the question is, what do we do from here? There's still rumors out there indicating where the Miami Heat can potentially trade Andrew Wiggins. Now, the proposed offer is Rui Hachimura, or excuse me, the proposed offer what the Miami Heat wanted was Dalton Connect, Rui Hachimura, and a future first-round draft pick. Now that the Heat have 14 players on this roster, they're able to make that trade. But all signs indicate that the Lakers are not going to accept that, unless they're desperate. And honestly, you guys, now that the Miami Heat traded for Norman Powell, I don't think there's really a reason to trade Andrew Wiggins, unless the offer is too good to pass up. That's why you stand your ground. If a team is willing to offer 1 to 2 future first-round draft picks for Wiggins, I'm listening. But right now, with this roster construed, when you look at this lineup, a potential starting 5 of Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Kel'el Ware as your starting 5, in my opinion, you guys, that's one of the best starting lineups in the Eastern Conference. Now you're also going to have Davion Mitchell playing that 6-man role, which he did last season and did very well. You also have Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic coming off the bench. Hopefully they're going to take that next step. I believe they can. You have Kasparis Yaka-Jonas, who you just drafted. You have Haywood Highsmith, a defensive specialist. You're bringing back Drew Smith. You have Kashad Johnson. The only thing this Miami Heat team needs to really address is a backup center. And we're going to talk about that in another episode. But that's what the Miami Heat really need to focus on. If you're going to bring another player, try to bring up a backup center. Because right now your power rotation consists of Kel'el Ware, Bam Adebayo, and Nikola Jovic, which is fine. But you still need a big body. You still, like, a big body would help. Now there's the other aspect. Should the Miami Heat offer a contract to Damian Lillard? Should they wait for Bradley Beal to get bought out? That's the thing. With this extra roster spot, you guys, I think the Heat should get a center. But I wouldn't blame the Miami Heat if they threw a 2-year, $20 million contract to Damian Lillard to allow him to, rehab this year and come back next year. But Damian Lillard doesn't fit the timeline of this team. Yeah, when we had Jimmy Butler and we were going for him 2 years ago, it made a lot of sense. But the fact that you have a young roster led by Tyler Hero and Bam Adebayo, when you put Damian Lillard on this team, if he was ready to play, if he was available in December, yeah, I'd understand. But he's going to miss the entire 2026 season. So you're signing him banking for 2027. And right now, the name of the game is to leave as much cap space available for 2026. You actually shedded more space when you traded for Norman Powell, because Kyle Anderson was still on the books for 2027. Now that you made that trade, you're going to have a lot more cap flexibility. So by bringing Damian Lillard here on a 2-year contract, I don't think it works. Bradley Beal, I was entertaining that. That idea. But now that you picked up Norman Powell, and that you have Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, Kasparis Yaka-Jonas, Davion Mitchell. You're also most likely going to bring Drew Smith back. The guard rotation is pretty set. And by bringing Bradley Beal and the way that he plays, I don't really think it works. I love this 3-guard combo of Tyler Hero, Norman Powell, and Davion Mitchell. And then you have Kasparis Yaka-Jonas as your 4th. I think we're set. We have enough wing players, we have enough power forwards. I think a center is the perfect play. That's what the Miami Heat needs to focus on. And we'll be doing another episode of that talking about available centers. But Heat Nation, I want to hear from you. Now that we've discussed this, now that we know that the Miami Heat have their full mid-level exception, what do you think the Miami Heat should do with that final roster spot? What do you think about the lineup next season? What do you think is the best starting five the Miami Heat should put forward? Do you think Norman Powell is going to fit with this team? Also, Norman Powell is due for a 3-year, $80 million contract extension. Do the Heat give it to him? Do the Heat wait it out? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe as we push for 7,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. And until next time, your boy Ernest out, and that is enough said.